Shakur Stevenson showed Teofimo Lopez levels when they fought. Teofimo Lopez is a boxer who largely relies upon his athleticism and his counter-punching to, dominate his opponents, land big shots, get their respect, dominate the range, control the fight. And Shakur Stevenson basically took away all of Teofimo's primary offensive options, and Teofimo had nothing to rely on. He had nothing to fall back on. So much so that when he was in the corner with his dad, he's saying, "What happened to your power, bro?" Like that was hilarious to me. Like, Teofimo Lopez Sr. is not a good boxing coach, clearly, because he's not saying, okay, feint, work your jab, get inside, move about, move to the left. He's not giving any tactical advice. The stuff that Teofimo actually needed to hear. And stuff that Teofimo probably doesn't really use in his boxing, likely because he doesn't need to use it, right? But against Shakur, he needed to use it, and he couldn't, because Shakur took away those offensive options. And that is the most important thing when it comes to boxing, right? Controlling the fight, controlling the tempo, controlling the distance, and taking away your opponent's offensive options. What we saw in Shakur Stevenson v Teofimo Lopez is what happens when you have a fighter who relies on his athleticism, and you take away that athleticism. Athleticism doesn't matter if you can't land, if you can't close the distance, if you can't put your hands together, if you can't counter me. You're just athletic for the sake of it. You're just standing there with your muscles looking cool. It doesn't matter if you can't implement it. And it's like when I see these guys, and we all see it in boxing, these guys that are built, bro, muscles don't win fights. Boxing wins boxing matches, bro. And Shakur Stevenson is a perfect example of that. Because granted, Shakur Stevenson's not out of shape. He's in great shape. And for him to do what he does every single fight for 12 rounds is impressive. Like, it's not easy to do. But at the same time, when you're in a boxing fight and you're in complete control for 12 rounds, it is kind of easy. Do you know what I mean? It is kind of easy. Like, when you're going at your pace, like, I could go at my pace forever. Do you know what I mean? But when you've got a guy who is a live body, world level guy like Teofimo Lopez that is actively trying to implement his game plan, and Shakur Stevenson just didn't let him get comfortable, walked him onto that jab so many times. It was disgusting, and you could see by the end of the fight, Teofimo Lopez's face was beaten up and bruised, lumps all over his face. And after the fight, people would be like, "Oh yeah, Shakur's not got any power, bro. Come on. If you've not got any power, you're not doing that to a man's face, bro. Like, come on." Like I said, Shakur Stevenson showed Teofimo Lopez absolute levels and is a perfect example of what happens in boxing when you don't have a backup plan. And the thing is, even if Teofimo had a backup plan, Shakur Stevenson wouldn't let him implement it. Shakur Stevenson is always 2 steps ahead of all of his opponents. And he showed that against Teofimo Lopez. And granted, I don't know who he's going to be fighting next, if he's going to stay at 140, if he's going to move up to 147, or even if he goes down to 135. But for the most part, against most of the guys he fights, he's always 2 steps ahead. And that's why Shakur Stevenson is truly generational. And that's why he's going to be he's next up alongside your Boots. A lot of that sort of level of guy. Boots, of course, is not a 4-weight world champion like Shakur. Maybe you should be saying, Shakur's in a league of his own. Granted, he kind of is. Defensively as well. And there is nobody better in modern boxing at shutting down and taking away offensive options than Shakur Stevenson. He showed Teofimo Lopez absolute levels in that fight. I'd be curious to know what you guys thought of Shakur Stevenson's performance and what you think of Shakur Stevenson generally. Do you like his defensive approach, or would you rather see a guy, hands up, chins down, walk forward, throwing bombs? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.